Governor Mills signed a historic budget into law Tuesday.
Kadichi Lawrence has more.
Governor Mills signed the supplemental budget into law Tuesday.
If we want to build a stronger, more prosperous state, we have to invest in our greatest asset, Maine people.
Included in the $445 million budget is $25 million in startup costs for a new paid family and medical leave program, making Maine the 13th state to have one.
When that measure takes effect a few years from now, it will make it easier for people to balance work with life's unexpected challenges, like caring for a sick child or an aging parent.
The program will be funded through a payroll tax split between workers and employers and capped at a 1% of wages. The budget package also includes investments in housing, child care, and establishes a modernized business incentive program, which Mills says will better reflect the needs of our economy.
This program will attract businesses to move here, come here, or expand here by providing a tax incentive for every worker those businesses train.
Senator Rick Bennett of Oxford says the business incentive was made possible due to Republican priorities, and so were tax breaks for retired Mainers.
Very important for our seniors going forward. We want to be a state that welcomes seniors and says, we don't want to tax your income, which is often limited and fixed.
Because the budget did not receive a 2/3 majority in legislature, it will go in effect in 90 days instead of immediately. Bennett says a big reason for that was partisan differences when it came to the paid family leave bill.
The version that was ultimately passed is better, but it still, the costs were kind of high and the benefits were particularly rich relative to other states, and I thought we should have started with something more modest.
But he says there are some elements in the budget that shows bipartisan efforts.
All the people in this building, clearly the Democrats and the majority had a much heavier weight into the final product, but there's some marks here that Republicans can point to as part of their priorities.
Kadichi Lawrence, WABI TV5 News, Augusta.